call the meeting to order. Welcome everybody this evening, and especially welcome to Councillor Lawrence, who's back in her chair. Good to see you, Carol. Wondered if we could please, if you could rise, if you so can, and we'll take a moment of reflection, please. Thank you. So first I would ask, is there any declaration of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof from anybody on anything on the agenda this evening? Seeing none, if it does arise, certainly can be declared at any time. Closed session. We do not have any closed session this evening, Mark. No. So that will bring us down then to comment period. At this time, if there's anything on the agenda that anyone in the audience would like to make comment on at the beginning of the meeting. Boy, that sure brought silence. Thank you. Okay. No comments on the agenda at this point in time. No public meetings, consent agenda. And I have a motion moved by Rob Thompson, seconded by Doug Hutchison. Be resolved that items A1 to B1 inclusive contained in Part 1 consent agenda be adopted as printed. And further, that authorization be given for the actions to be taken as may be necessary to give effect to the recommendations contained therein. Any questions, comments on the... Councillor Herget. Becca?
I have one slight correction on August 8th minutes, and
Yes.
the notation was on page, it was just Committee of the Whole Planning, and it should not have been planning. So the page is page 8, Resolution 239-18. It was recommended by Committee of the Whole, not Committee of the Whole Planning. But other than that amendment,
Okay.
I'd be fine with those minutes.
No, that's fine. That slight correction. Got that one, Mark? Mark will find that and make that okay, we'll get that one done up. Any other questions, errors, or comments on that? Fine. Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Rick. Very good. I think that will bring us down then to communications from Mayor and Council. Might be a couple of communications. A few of us have been at the AMO conference. Has anybody got any comments, enlightenments? Mr. Hutchison. Doug?
Sure, I'll start. So this past part of this week, we were in Ottawa, some of us, for a conference put on by AMO, which is Association of Municipalities of Ontario. And one of the sessions that I went to had to do with recycling, and I thought I'd like to share some information on that, just because there are a lot of changes and whatnot. So right now, we pay as a municipality about 50% of the cost of the blue box system after rebates. That varies a little bit depending on what kind of rebates we get and whatnot, but the costs continue to go up. There's movement out there by Stewardship Ontario, AMO, and the government to make producers fully responsible for the recycle program and all of its costs. So that's interesting news, good news, I think, but again, it's one of those things that's going to take some work to make it happen. Hopefully, the producers will look at what they're producing and find market, or if they can't find a market for it, they need to stop producing it, because we have things like styrofoam and film plastic right now, which go into our landfill, and they don't have a place for it to go. So there needs to be some changes made there, and hopefully that eventually that the pressure will be in the right place. There's lots of unanswered questions of what this looks like. The time frame is looking at probably a few years down the road, because change comes slowly when it comes to making big changes like that. So it's going to be a while. In the meantime, we need to continue to make our recycle system as efficient as possible. Example, avoid contamination, and that's a big factor right now, that we're getting a lot of contamination in our recycle material, and if we get too much contamination, we get docked money for it, and a lot of it ends up in the landfill. So the contamination factor is important, and we need to do some work on that. We need to help educate our constituents, and that's part of you know, getting some information out there about what's acceptable, what isn't, what it looks like in the blue box, and look at some best practices. The other thing, we need to look for solutions for our organics, which can be as much as 40% of our waste. So we need to come up with a system of dealing with that, and right now we don't know exactly what that is, but we've had some discussions and we'll continue to discuss that. As a whole, we are doing okay when it comes to the blue box system, but we need to find ways to do better. Our landfills are getting full, as we know. We need alternate solutions to waste, and there was lots of discussion about what are some of what's the new research telling us and where are they going with research, but again, that takes time. So changes are coming, not real quickly, but they're coming, so stay tuned. Thank you.
That's all good. Thank you. Councillor Hergert, did you have something? Oh. How long's this taken? You're getting
Well, I am getting geared up. This is a good one.
this?
Okay, we'll start with community activities. We'll start there. Recently attended a Durham Art Gallery collaboration. The board there is looking forward to redeveloping a plan and somewhat rebranding and getting organized around the community. This was a community engagement session to find out what the community would like. And anyway, visit the art gallery, go check them out. There's lots more coming your way. There are some exhibits on right now, Shades of White and Stories Unfold. So if anybody wants that information, I have that. Then we go to the tractor pull. Durham Antique Tractor Pull is going to be September 2nd, and that's part of the Durham Agricultural Society and the Fall Fair. Next, we have Municipality of West Grey is hosting a municipal and school board election internet and phone voting information session. That's a lot to get out there, but that's going to be Thursday, August 30th, 2 p.m. and that I understand is put on by Dominion Voting, and so they'll be here for a seminar, I would understand. Maybe Mark can clarify that. Anyway, we'll look forward to seeing everybody here at 2 p.m. We'll see what we get from Dominion. Okay, then I actually attended at the AMO session a presentation. This was building campuses, enhancing long-term care and services for seniors. We understand long-term care is a big hot topic at the county level. The province is making it a hot topic as well. We have a new minister in charge of health and long-term care, and she happens to be an auditor as well. And the province has suggested that they will be bringing forward 15,000 new beds over the next 5 years, and then continuing on from there. The exact same the next 5 years, so a total of 30,000 new beds. Now, we don't have any idea where those would be located yet, and to be honest, it seemed like the ministers were pretty well just getting themselves on their feet with their portfolio, and they came back early and so on. But once we start putting these recommendations forward to the province, they can get an idea of what would work. Maybe not every, I'm sure the county level can, go on about where we have been. And I think it's important to document that very well, where we have been, especially as moving forward, the province could make other slight changes that would be helpful to this situation as well. Anyway, this one model was from a neighboring county of Simcoe. Jane Sinclair is the general manager of health and emergency services over there, and they are running somewhat of a campus type setting. They have an entire book out recently, published November of 2017. It describes different models of long-term care, assisted living, so on, different models, different types of housing that help support long-term care. So long-term care, we know, gets a set level of government funding, but this model was reaching out early on to get partnerships at the county level with the municipal government, and there's another little bit I'll bring forward about that, but to get together early on to look for funding. These models are not cheap, they're not reasonable, but what they do is have more beds than us, and they're making profit. So I think the long-term care, and I'll pass this, I'll volley it off to the county level, but really this is a model. There was an entire table of Grey County councillors there. This is some pretty good information. The province is changing how many beds and their funding formula and all of this, so we'll have to keep abreast of the change in this. This was an important model, though, I thought, where people could have a type of housing that suited them for now, and they can move into and grow into, with their community, a longer-term care facility. So everyone stays together. Different models of housing cost different amounts of money, but what they also added to that was a suite of services. They're looking for, health and beauty and the pluses that you may require. They also were looking at commercial, let's say you need hearing aids and so on, those type of community pieces that you could add together to build the hub around healthcare and long-term care and assisted living and so on. This was a big project. This was an $80 million project. We're not talking that. There's different taxation amounts that we have available, but they found 80% of grants and fundraising to support this model. So, if anybody would like this information, it's the County of Simcoe building a seniors campus, a sustainable model to support positive aging and strengthening our communities. And this Jane Sinclair gal, I'll pass it around for anybody who would like to look at it, but she's available if we would like any further information. So that being said, I would like, later on I will have a resolution prepared. I would just like us to request that our CAO moving forward would work in concert with the county to figure out West Grey's role in development charges, in partnership opportunities for funding grants and other funding opportunities, that we start early on, that we can make the deadlines, and maybe the deadlines change as well. This is a moving piece, but this was a next door neighbor model that suited a need in our community. It cites several reports in there, Canada's aging population, the municipal role in that change. At the same time as our MPP was able to meet with us on other items, this is something that I would like to submit up to our county councillors, and if you could take that forward to a potential county committee of the whole meeting, that would be awesome. Thanks. That's my report on AMO.
Thank you very much, Rebecca, and did have a conversation at the conference with Mark Aiken, CEO of Simcoe, that I know very well, and the warden, Jerry Marshall. And one of those models, you don't have to go that far outside of Grey County to find that. It's in Collingwood. Is it set up? And it's exactly that. It's from the time individuals have to leave their house, their own single-family dwelling, into a rental, into assisted living, into long-term. It's they took that model, but it's been in operation in Simcoe County for 10, 12 years now that they've been building that aspect. I think they have 3 of those, but maybe just 2. One of them's working very well. One of them, they're still working to build it out. But it is on the radar and has been looked at. But we will take that under consideration and move it on up there. Anyone else? Mr. Bell.
Mr. Mayor, yes, thank you. Councillor Herger, just to hone in on some of your comments a little bit, those 15,000 beds to be released by the province for over the next 10 years, they have not been announced if they are going to be public or private beds, and it has not been announced if there's any funding to go with those beds. So I just wanted to correct you on that just a little bit. And then perhaps what has also been announced, there'll be 15,000 in the 10 years after that also. So for a total of 30,000 altogether. So, yeah, there's a lot of different models, and some of those models actually that you spoke of, there's one in Guelph and there's one in Waterloo that are not-for-profit models that would be a good idea to look at also. I happen to know a close relative of mine that works at those two places. So, going after that, yes, I was at 6 different meetings with AMO ministers. I think the most encouraging thing with the change in the government, at the Bear Pit session, there was 22 ministers there. And there's never been a crowd like that on stage before at any time that I've been at AMO. And they seemed very attentive, very engaged, and were listening very closely to what was being said. And I give them credit for that, recognizing they're brand new. We'll be able to give them their report card in a year from now to see how they did. But they were listening, they answered the questions very well, and they had their facts and figures down. Christine Elliott did very well on her presentation, the Ministry of Transportation. We had a meeting with them as far as King's Highways in Grey County goes, and there's some movement afoot. So some good things can happen. Obviously, everybody says that they have no money, so I guess we got to put up with that. But we'll moving forward, we'll see where things lie. So. Good conference, and it was a pleasure and very worthwhile being there.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, was very fortunate to be in Ottawa for the last 3-4 days. Met with a number of ministers at the conference. Just for a bit of clarification, John, yes, there was 22 ministers there. A high percentage of all the cabinet ministers, but not as many ministers as what has been in the past, because there's not as big a cabinet. Yes, the Conservatives have shrunk it considerably, and it was difficult getting to the ministers and saying, Minister of Environment and Minister of Conservation and Parks, and they've combined quite a few, and it's made the titles. It's made the cabinet numbers smaller, but it's made the titles quite a bit longer. So they were trying to figure out how to get all of that on a business card. So they're working away on that one as well too. It was very good to see them there. Met with parliamentary assistant for community safety and correctional services, dealing with an issue that for rural municipalities is going to be, if it stays the way the legislation's been written on firefighters and the standard that even volunteer organizations are going to have to come to. Our firefighters, the way we understand it at the present moment, if it was enacted the way it's written, will need to take anywhere from 6 to 10 weeks to be accredited to be a firefighter. That's a 6 to 10 week course to be a volunteer firefighter. All of the firefighters in West Grey have an accreditation at this point in time, but it has been further. Asking a employee or employer to have a member of his workforce be off for 6 to 8 weeks to go to fire college to get the accreditation, asking the volunteer firemen to do that, and they heard it loud and clear. We were the last on Tuesday to meet with the parliamentary assistant, and he said he had 17 meetings. This has come up in all 17, he said. Yeah, we're hearing you very clear. So that was a very interesting one. Asset management, and where we're going with the asset management and the capacity of what the province wants for asset management plans, was with another parliamentary assistant dealing with that. And I mean, in the city of Hamilton, there's 24. They have a staff of 24 that are up and doing their asset management to what the level is. Carrie's looking at me and thinking, wow, 24. It was recognized that over 40% of the municipalities in Ontario are less than 5,000 people. The staffing is even considerably less than what we have at 13,000 here in West Grey. So the capacity to get the volumes of information and together. The minister, parliamentary assistant recognized that, and they were, not that they were going to change what the requirements were, but some of the timelines we have to meet, and certainly the ability for the ministry to put some human resource assets to us. That was one of the things that that came out of that one. We did meet with Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks on recycling. Very good conversation there on the plan that Doug had spoke of. Also sat in on a mayor's meeting with the Minister of Finance and the Attorney General on cannabis legislation and how the rollout of cannabis is going to be. And the more questions you asked, the more that the two ministers kind of looked, and we're working on that and we'll get back to you. Of course, we know on October the 17th is when legalized sale of cannabis is going to come into play. For the first, until April 1st in Ontario anyways, it's going to be through online sales. You're going to have to be registered, and yep, I don't know whether you'll get it in the mail or Pure Later will deliver it, but that's the way it will be until April 1st. The deal is then that it is going to be private retail outlets. Two of the interesting things that really come out of it: we have 30 days after the new council is in place to make up the mind and put into a bylaw whether the municipality wants to be in the retail or allow retail sales here. You have an opt-in and an opt-out. You can opt out. A year down the road, if the municipality changes its mind, it can opt back in. You can opt in right off the reel, and if you opt out a year down the road, you've only got one shot at it. You can't flip-flop them back on a yearly basis. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. They were very clear on that part of it. The other part was, where's the funding coming from for the enforcement? There was a 2-hour session wrapping up, 2.5 hours, I believe it was, on wrapping up on Wednesday morning. And there is way more questions out there, as I said, than anybody has on the planning aspect, on the enforcement aspect, on the delivery. Who's going to decide, or how are the retail outlets going to be licensed? Is it going to be on a... one of the interesting is somebody like Second Cup that's going to get out of coffee and they're going to franchise it out. Are we going to have, they going to be able to have 1,000 licenses and be able to place them around, or is it going to be 1,000 individual mom and pop retail licenses that are going out there? Or are we going to get the Walmart novel business plan that was kind of thrown out too? And again, it was, we're working on that. We'll get back to you. And it was, man, it's being rushed. And the more you spoke about it, the more questions that come out, the less answers that were available on this. But it's coming. We'll see where we get. And one clarification in our in the upcoming meetings, in the upcoming committee meetings, I noticed a September 4th is the West Grey Chamber of Commerce meeting. It should be the next week. September the 11th is that. There's been a bit of an update on that one. So September 11 is the West Grey Chamber of Commerce. Certainly lots of activities coming up. We'll hear about one of them a little bit later. But yes, we're into the fall fair season. Our Bentig Brant Hanover Agricultural Society had their fall fair. It's one of the first ones to kick off. Wyerton has theirs as well too. A week and a half ago, they had their fall fair, and Bentig was well represented. We still make up more than 50% of that. Well, I like to think we make up more than 50% of that over there. But they had a very good fall fair. And they had excellent weather for it too, so I hope that not only for the ones that are in West Grey, being Durham coming up in 2 weeks' time, and then Newstead's Fall Fair, 16th, 17th, 18th, 16th, 15th. Thank you, Scott. 15th is a Saturday. I was on the right weekend, just not the exact right day. It is coming up as well, too. And, of course, their dinner on the Sunday night is not to be missed on the 16th as well, too. And with that, unless there's anything else from any of the members, Carol, Councillor Lawrence.
I just want to say it's a pleasure to be here. I have missed it very much. And after 42 years of being an elected official, I could not see leaving my record of my seat vacated. I would not like to leave on that note. So I'm happy I could be here. And good luck to all of you people out there who are running and all of you here. I saw the signs coming down.
There's a few of them, and we may be talking about that, about the time that they get out there at some point into the future.
And I have many at home still.
Oh. We'll either talk to Councillor Hutchison or Councillor Hergert, and maybe they can put something
Well,
forward
they'd
on
have
how
to-
to reuse, recycle,
Repurpose
repurpose some of those signs.
Well, they went through quite a few elections, right from amalgamation, actually. I was counting up, I think I've been through 14 elections. I was counting them up today.
Congratulations to you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Mark, you haven't been through that many, have you? 8. Oh, just a newcomer, a novice in the program, and all of us
Well,
are.
I've sat with 6 mayors and 14 elections.
How many have you sat with, Mark?
2.
Again, just a novice. Yeah. Well, it's great to have you back, Carol, and we look forward to your experience and expertise on any of the questions that may come up.
I would just like to thank Mark, who has been keeping me up to date and informed. Thanks, Mark, very much. I threw the minutes and council packages, so it's been great. Yeah.
Mark has made that comment that you have given a few comments back to him on some of the adjustments he should make. So thank you very much, Carol, for being here. Okay. With that, we do have a couple of delegations this evening, and I do see one of the individuals. No, I see 2 of the individuals now. So we'll start on delegations. Rob Edwards, organizer of the West Grey Terry Fox Run, is here this evening. And Rob, the floor is yours. If you want to use the... You forgot, you dropped your hat. Oh, there you go. Oh, you're fine. Rob? Rob's here this evening to give us an update on where we're at and the Terry Fox Run coming up. The gray button on the microphone, and yes, there you are. It's turned
There we
red,
go.
so you're live, and Adam can record you now.
Good. Thank you very much for having me.
Pleasure.
My name is Rob Edwards. My wife and I, Deb, organized the Terry Fox Run here in West Grey. And the West Grey event is celebrating 25 years this year. Way to go. And we've raised over $400,000 to date. So, Mayor, we're over the dollar per person. It's about $16,000 per year, so that's kind of neat.
Absolutely. No, it's been
This year's event is Sunday, September 16th, 2018. It's at 2 p.m. and it's at the conservation area. So I invite everybody to come out and enjoy the day with us, enjoy the afternoon with us. The Terry Fox Run has been going for 38 years. And originally it was the only run for cancer research. Since the last 15 years of participation has been generally down overall, I think, across Canada. Probably two reasons. Many runs, walks, trucks, stuff going on every weekend, and it all supports many great causes. The other main thing that I don't like in the Terry Fox run is the word run. It's not a run. Okay? I did
Participants.
I did the run in 1981, and it was 10K, and it was grueling, and it was brutal, and I raised like $100, but I mean, that's what you did. It was a 10K run, and you went neighbor to neighbor, and you got $1 a person, and ours is, it's just become so much more family friendly. Like it's walk, it's stroll, it's 1K, it's 0K, it's 5K. We still have dedicated 10K, 5K runners that come out and do the run, and that's wonderful. But in the last 10 years, or since Deb and I have been doing it in the last 5 or 6 years, so many families come out and they're pushing the strollers, they're walking their dogs, they're taking their grandparents for a walk or their grandkids for a walk, and it's wonderful. Anyways, so take out the word run. I'm not sure how the foundation's going to do that, but it's good. It's a good afternoon. Deb and I support it, and so should you. Again, for two reasons. Imagine a 21-year-old, 1980, amputee, says to his mom and dad, "I'm going to walk across Canada for cancer." You know what? That's pretty neat. And 5,300 kilometers later, you know, he did pretty well. Deb and I have a special place in our heart for him, and because I think he's he's kind of a Canadian hero. So 84 cents of every dollar goes to research. So it's not going to buildings, it's not going to salaries, it's just going right back into research. So, and it's probably, it is probably the second reason that we do it, because we look at where dollars go. Deb and I's efforts to increase participation here in West Grey, and again, it's not a run, it's a stroll, it's a walk, it's come out and enjoy. It's family friendly, there's no entry fee, and again, 84 cents goes to research. How can you participate? I brought pledge sheets that I'll leave at the back there, so, you know, the good old fill out a pledge sheet and bring it that day. terryfox.org online, or just come out that day and say hi to everybody and make a donation. That would be great. Over the last week and a half, I've been to every fire station in West Grey and made the same pitch to them, and I hope we get a few more firefighters out. I've made a pitch to the police chief and his staff, and hope to get them out. We want to get back to the basics. Terry Fox's goal, which was $1 for every Canadian, and we want to keep up the $1 for every West Grey resident. So I encourage everybody, council, anybody that's listening, to come out and enjoy an afternoon. The Lions Club is going to put on a beautiful barbecue later on in the afternoon, and join us. T-shirts are for sale, $20. This is this year's. And $15 for youth. And just as a last note, we have a bonus this year because Fred Fox is coming to West Grey. Imagine Fred Fox, Terry's brother. Oh, he's coming to little old West Grey. Imagine what I thought when I asked if he'd come to West Grey, and 6 months later he said, "Yeah, I'll come to West Grey." Anyway, He's coming on September 5th. It's not the day of the run. It's the second day of school, which presented a bit of a problem. But anyways, it's a Wednesday, and he's coming to Rockwood Terrace first at 10 o'clock in the morning. We only have him for 4 hours, but he's coming at 10 o'clock in the morning, and he's going to Rockwood and going to present them with, imagine Rockwood's been doing this run 5 years longer than we have. But anyways, they've been doing it for 30 years, so he's going to present them with their 30-year plaque and present a nice little gift to the Hopkins family who started the run here and did it for 18 years, and have kind of a meet and greet there. And then he's going to go to 3 area public schools, because that's where our future is, and it's in the hands of the kids after 38 years. He's going to Spruce Ridge at 11, and Egremont at 12, and Dornby at 1 o'clock. And each one of those schools have participated for more than 15 years, and he's going to go and thank them and meet the kids and cheer us on. So, thank you.
That is great news, and again, on behalf of the community, thank you very much, Rob. You did mention the Hopkins family, the Hutchison family, Denise, and all of the Hutchisons for doing it, and there comes a time, even as Councillor Lawrence has said, you've got to step aside, and somebody stepped in, and we're very thankful that you and your wife, Deb, have taken that challenge on and have continued to run it so efficiently and effectively and successfully for the last 7 years. Congratulations to you, and we'll twist as many arms as we can. And you're right, 10K run, at my age and with my knees, it's not going to happen. A 5K walk, I can still do that, but yeah, we will be there and look forward to it. Thank you very much. Thanks, Rob. And as you said, those sheets, oh. That's sales. That's a salesman right there, able to do that. Yeah. Very good. Thanks very much, Rob. Okay. Our next delegation, and Ed Dozman is here. Ed, welcome again this evening. And Ed, who is in Durham, has some follow-up comments from a delegation about a month ago. I believe you were here, Ed. So,
Correct.
Mr. Dozman, the floor is
Correct,
yours.
correct. Thank you, Kevin. And yeah, it is a follow-up because I did receive a letter back from Brent Glacier saying that my request to have the water rate charges deferred was turned down at the committee at the whole. I also asked for the meter cost to be waived of $400. There's no mention of that in the letter.
Well, I can tell you that the pursuant, I think that I've got the letter here, and pursuant to the bylaw 2015, you will be, that is the way it is, to be hooked up to the system. And there is, at this point in time, from Committee of the Whole and staff, are not in favor or will not be recommending or will not be considering waiving of that fee. It has never been done, I believe, in since West Grey and before that with Durham on the waiving of that fee. It's consistent across the board.
Yeah, well, that's where I made the argument in my first delegation that it was a faulty meter.
And upon
This is a replacement under my new account.
right, and I believe under further review of the meter, from what I understand from staff, it wasn't a faulty meter. It
Froze.
It froze.
Yes,
Yes.
because it was installed, Kevin, at a lower, below the level of drainage, if you will. Water gathered all in it with nowhere to go. So,
And as you're aware, the installation, and I guess that's the installation from
previous owner,
the previous owner.
Right.
Right, so,
which was probably at the time when they put the meters first into Durham. My guess, because it was John Kaufman's house, which I was told he's lived there 40 years.
yep, and
So-
it is a possibility that it was done at that point in time, yes.
Right.
But, you know, it's lasted through, I'm going to look to Carol, or Carrie, the Durham water meters went in 90s? Or was it back in the late 80s? So the meter had been in for a long time. I think that's why they
Right.
said it wasn't faulty. Oh, Mr. Thompson saying, as he's had one, it's been in the 70s?
If I may, I bought my house in 1980 and there was a water meter at that time.
Okay. So you're off the hook, Carrie. It's before you were born.
Yeah, well, that's what I was concerned about, is the
Yeah.
fact that it wasn't stated in this letter that the $400 fee, because that's what Joyce had told me that the replacement meter would cost,
And,
which, sure, it's acceptable that I'd have to pay the plumber fees, certified plumber to install it, because somebody's got to be liable to install the property of West Gray in my house. Because if it malfunctions, somebody's going to get sued and floods. So,
well, that will be up to yourself.
well, that's why
Yeah.
I'm fully aware of putting a
Yeah.
certified plumber to install this, but it is the property of West Gray, this meter,
Yes?
yes, that I have to pay $400 for. That is transferred to the next owner of that house.
That's correct.
Okay. So I guess I was looking for that on this letter, that I was going to be responsible for that $400 fee, because I believe it's going to be sold to me and then put on my next water bill, the meter.
I believe that's the way yeah.
Yeah, typically, it's paid up front at the time the meter's picked up.
So it's either paid for up front, or, yeah, we'd have to find a way of getting payment for it when it's picked up.
Okay. And in the same sense, I got a water bill, and now I'm getting penalized because I didn't make the payment on the last so-called water usage base rate.
The minimum charge, yes?
Yes. I've been penalized another $7.61 because it's now an overdue account. And was what the first delegation was through, that we're going through, how would you say, negotiations, or we're trying to reach an agreement here, Kevin?
Yes?
So,
I think, well, we responded back on August 1st that the water bill itself was going to stay in place, you know. So I don't know when you got the letter, but I know it was dated August 1st, so it shouldn't have,
well, within the day or two that I did receive it, I did call and contact Mark, and he said it was within my rights to make another delegation on this, which I said I best do because it's not stated in the letter as to the water meter specifically, $400 fee, that I was looking to be waived.
okay. Did you speak to Mr. Glacier about that?
I
get
left a message for
clarification?
him, and he called me back within a day or two.
Okay, and you got the clarification you needed at that point in time for Brent, or,
Yes, but I'd already made the delegation.
okay?
And then I received the overdue for penalized account.
Rebecca, comment?
Just to clarify, we're talking about now we're down to just the interest is, I mean, we've reviewed the bylaw
Yep.
and it still stands. So now we're down to the $7 and some odd cent interest. Is that what our
Well,
negotiating
it
points?
says
are?
penalty here, $7.61.
$7.61. So in the interest of settling this, could we move forward and reimburse or reduce his account by $7.61? just of the interest so that we could, there would be resolution of him paying, we've got him back on the monthly, everything's hooked up proper, and we would just reduce the interest charge by the $7.61.
Nothing's hooked up.
Nothing is hooked up yet.
Nothing's hooked up.
So what is the plan of hooking
And
it up?
nobody is living in that home.
Right, so what's the timeline of getting it hooked up? You haven't picked up the
I'm
meter yet.
uncertain.
You're uncertain.
Yeah.
So we need you to connect to the system, right, so that everything flows right, all the flow meters go right. So we would be looking for you to come forward and purchase the $400 meter and get paying, because that's actually part of the bylaw. So, I mean, somebody else is really paying for, you don't have service into the house, I understand that, but.
Right.
But I'm saying, we're asking you to get hooked up.
Yeah.
And in the matter of doing business, I think we could waive a $7.60 interest fee, if you would be able to hook up to the system, tomorrow, yet this week would be reasonable. We've already allowed some further time. Is that reasonable for you to hook up to the system? Is the next week? How long do you need until you can hook up and start being on the monthly system?
I have further renovations to do to the home.
So water's not being hooked up at all, but we have a monthly fee regardless if it's hooked up.
And there is a basic
have to be
fee
hooked
because
up.
the system is there, yes.
That's right. So we need you to hook up because that's the bylaw, and so, I mean, that's a whole nother,
It's not needed to be hooked up. Just for clarification here before we get into negotiations, as of right now, I think, Ed, the fees are what the fees are.
Yeah, the base rate. I understand
Yeah.
that, Kevin. And I
And-
said I made those payments all winter or from the time I took possession.
Possession, exactly. So I think we have been very clear. It's, the system is there, the way the bylaw is written and the way it is across the province. The flat rate, whether you're hooked up or not, is in play and shall be paid
Yes.
to maintain that system as an asset to the property. That's the way it is. So, you know,
Whether I use
my-
the water or not, right.
Right. My
Correct.
suggestion would be pay now and have a $7 charge. You're going to have that. There can be a council discussion on it, but before it gets into the next month and more penalties onto it, it would be a discussion that council would have to have and have some thought on whether that is rebated back to you or not. But paying it right now, I think the way the bylaw is written and to be concise and straightforward, my suggestion is have it paid, because we're not in a position at this point in time to waive the fee. We can, it could be reimbursed, but I think it needs to be waived before it's even waived or considered. It shall be paid, and then we could think of
The
reimbursement.
penalty, you're saying?
The penalty as well. Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, then could I request another letter or some type of
Yes.
notice from, I guess, Brant Glacier being the Director of Infrastructure
Sure.
in regards to the meter
The meter as well, too.
fee of
Yes.
$400 not being waived and the penalty being placed?
Nice.
Because I'd like to take care of this all before my taxes are due August 30th.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Yep, we'll have that out to you.
Okay?
Either have Brent get it out, or I can see Carrie making notes there that we can get cleared. And I mean, I can't guarantee it'll be out tomorrow in the mail, but
It's okay.
It
If
would
you
be
want to
done
have a
by next
discussion
week.
about the penalty before 30th of August,
well, there is an opportunity or a chance that we may have that could come up at Committee of the Whole, which is on Monday.
well, that'd be good, because I'm really not in a position to get a meter, get hooked up, or get living there. I've got other issues going on up at that property
Mm-hmm.
with one neighbor in particular, so one thing
Okay.
at a time, right?
Yep. One thing at a
Water's the
time.
issue right now, so we'll get that
Excellent.
resolved and move forward.
Good. Okay.
And I'd like to wish you all good luck in the upcoming election. And enjoy the rest of the summer.
As limited as what it is. Okay, thank you, Ed. Okay. We have one other delegation, Mr. Dale Aarons. Dale is Chair of the Elmwood Community Center Board and is here to give us an update on a major project at the community center, the kitchen upgrades. Dale, the floor is yours.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Kitchens are important. Before that, I just wanted you to know, just for my benefit, that I'm really tired this evening, and I moved today, and I hope you'll be happy that I moved to Grey County. It's not West Grey, but it's to Grey County. So I am within the county.
You should be overjoyed.
So I'm
to be
really
in Grey
tired.
Finally.
I'm really tired. Once we kind of unloaded at my house, I went to get my printer out, and I found my printer. I could not find my laptop. I could not find my book with my notes. I couldn't find my pants. So
We'll bear with
so
you.
bear with me with this. One of the things that was wonderful when I walked through the door was to see Councillor Lawrence. This is wonderful. So
Just for clarification, Carol had sat on the Elmwood Community Center Board with
absolutely,
you for the last...
for a number of years.
Since I left. Since I passed the torch over to you, Carol. Thank you. Yeah.
So it is wonderful to see Carol here today. And once again, just in echoing the comments of the last presenter, best of luck to everyone who is continuing on in council with the next election, since we're coming to the end of the term. And for those who are choosing to look at alternatives, all the best for you as well on behalf of the Elmwood Community Center Board. So as Mayor Eccles said, we've been working extremely hard to bring our kitchen renovation project to the construction phase. And I'm squinting at my phone, which is really hard when you get old. But my notes are on there, so thank goodness. So in June, as council is aware, we started the tender process, and the recommendation of the board is to accept a tender from Dom Construction. And the scope of the work that Dom Construction is going to look at is the complete demolition of the existing kitchen, prepare for and install new plumbing, electrical, flooring, drywall, paint, installation of some new doors to the furnace room, the north entrance, and coordinate work with installation of some other contractors who are going to work at installing a dishwasher, a range hood for the oven and stove, an exhaust hood for the dishwasher, fire suppression, kitchen cabinetry, and all those types of things. The scope of the work that Dom Construction is going to look at is $68,925 plus HST. In addition, we're going to be contracting out for the following work, which will be fire suppression, the range hood and the dishwasher hood, which will be somewhere around $17,500. Kitchen cabinetry for about $15,000, maybe $16,000. Stainless steel components, an island, countertops, shelves, approximately $18,000, and the purchase of a 10-burner stove, a convection oven, and a stand-up freezer, and various items, which is going to be about $20,000. So if you add up all those numbers, it looks like around $140,000. And originally, we had looked at some estimates for the kitchen renovation project itself, minus all the upgrades to the oven and the freezer and those types of things. And we had looked at somewhere around $85,000. And when we came to you last, we had come to that $83,000 in terms of fundraising and contributions. And so we're at the point where we'd like to still go ahead with the project, but in order for us to do everything that we want to do, it's going to cost more money. And at the community center board meeting, one of the some of the information that Mayor Eccles shared with us was that West Grey has a holding in trust $18,000 still remaining from the sale of Element Hydro to be used within the within the Elmwood area. And we're requesting at this time that that might be able to be contributed towards the project, which brings us up to about 101, 102,000. And the Elmwood Chamber of Commerce has been fundraising and will continue to fundraise as long as it takes to work towards that. But we're at sort of a $39,000 shortfall for the completion of the kitchen. So we have a plan for this. Next Monday evening, I go to the Municipality of Brockton Council, and I'm going to request that they fund the remainder of the cost of the program, that shortfall, and that we will come up with a plan for recovering that cost with Brockton. Now, those funds will come from a number of sources, and one source will be the Chamber of Commerce, which will continue to fundraise. And one of the challenges we've had is that we've never really had a final amount that we need to fundraise for, or a final figure that we can use as the target. And this gives us that figure, which will help us with our fundraising. And we've been doing a number of things over the summer to do that. So the contribution from the chamber will increase, and we do have some additional funds to add towards that, and we'll continue to add towards that. We're looking at the sale of some of the used equipment, such as the current propane stove and the current dishwasher, and they're both working quite well and in good shape. They are, though, working on being about 50 years old, so it's I guess the dishwasher isn't, it's only about 30 years old, but there is some value with those, and once we've gone ahead, we'll go and we'll sell those resources and any other resources that we can do to move on. And as well, we're going to be looking for alternative fundraisers for particular things, such as depending upon the green energy program, there might be some opportunities to find deals for replacing our old chest freezer with an efficient stand-up freezer. So with that regard, we are hoping to move ahead, and as I said, I'm going to be going to Brockton Council to ask for approval for this funding plan, which hopefully will allow us to continue on in getting this done this fall. And my fingers are crossed at this time, but we're working really hard at doing that. And so I guess this part of the request is that we have access to that money once it's required.
Carrie, thought?
Does the original 80 to 85 include our $10,000 commitment that we had already made? Because that was budgeted to come from the hydro reserve as well. So there would then only be another 8,500 left.
8,500 left in there. Okay.
What the 85,000 he's talking about, does that include our council's original commitment of 10?
Your original commitment of 10 is in that 85,
Okay.
right, Dale? Yeah.
Yes.
So just for clarification, what I found out afterwards, there was 18.5, let's say 18.5.
So 10 had already been,
10 was come out, so there's
Okay.
only 8,500 in there. But that just means ask Brockton for more. They've got all kinds of cash over there, it seems.
the banter between County Road 10 is quite interesting. I should write a book.
Yes. John, sorry, go ahead, Deputy Mayor Bell.
Great presentation, Dale. Yeah, we want to work with you. We want to see this project done. I know you've been working hard at it, and your committee's been working hard, and you're a long way towards the end goal line, just not quite there yet. Question, do you intend to have this ready for Grey Bruce Farmers Week in January?
I am really pushing hard for it. Our window was to have it, the demolition part take place through October.
Okay.
So that it could be put back together in November, and our goal is to try to have it in place for Farmers Week,
Okay.
which.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Is a very big commitment on that kitchen when Farmers Week hits those 8 days. Okay? May I suggest to council unless somebody wants to put forward a motion to transfer the remaining amount. Mr. Bell.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor, that we do transfer the remaining amount to the Elmwood Community Center Board for that purpose.
Okay. Rebecca, years of experience, I'm going to take Carol. Okay.
And there's more. The second part is, and it's not a financial issue.
Well, if I got this motion on the floor.
Okay,
we'll deal
yeah.
with it. Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to say a word.
Don't get me.
I'm not going to say a word.
Don't get me into trouble on procedure, and you may not end up with what you're looking for here. We'll see what's here. I'll read it one way or the other. Yep. No, I'm going to go the other way. It's moved by Carol Lawrence and seconded by John Bell. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey approves a donation of the remaining Elmwood Hydro Reserve funds, approximately $8,500, to the Elmwood Community Center kitchen renovation project. Or towards, sorry. It's been a number of years and I still can't read your writing. I'm sorry, Mark. Towards the Elmwood Community Center kitchen project, renovations project. Any questions or comments on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. Okay.
So if I do go to Brockton on Wednesday and say that West Grey has put in another 8,500 and they increase that, so it's sort of like a poker game and the stakes keep rising out, just be love to come back.
Well, you can try and tell them it was contingent on Brockton matching that.
Yeah.
It's too late, Mr. Bell.
Hopefully no one in Brockton is watching.
Yeah. It's widespread, isn't it, Adam?
Second point that I'd like to address is one sort of a logistical issue. And right now, our current community center board has a councillor from West Grey, or a representative from council from West Grey, which is Carol, with Mayor Eccles filling in the last few months. We have one representative from Brockton Council, Dean Lifeso. We have a representative from the Chamber of Commerce and a representative from the community of West Grey and a representative from the community of Brockton. There are 5 people on the board, and we need 3 for quorum, and if one person is away, we still have a little bit of wiggle room. If 2 people are away, there's not much wiggle room, and the chair basically looks at those 2 people to approve and second, and it's a little bit tricky there. In addition, we're finding that the scope and the amount of work that's involved with a kitchen project, when you're also trying to keep track of health and safety and WMIS and Ministry of Labor issues, when you're also trying to have people work maybe at the next project down the line, or someone looking after other things, that it's really difficult functioning with a 5-person board, particularly when we know that our councillors are busy people as well. And we've had tremendous support from Carol and Dean and Mayor Eccles, and Doug filled in for a meeting. We've had tremendous support from council, but when it comes to sort of the day-to-day work, as far as meeting with people about replacing lighting or meeting with staff or health and safety, which is huge, it really kind of runs the remaining 3 people. You sort of run off your feet, particularly if you're in a renovation project or a construction project. So we've had quite a bit of discussion over the last few meetings, and the recommendation from the board was that we look at having a second representative from West Grey, a second representative from Brockton, and a second representative added from the Chamber of Commerce or the community group in that area, so that we'd be increasing the size. Carrie graciously helped to sit down with some representatives from Brockton, and they looked at the whole joint agreement last fall and made a number of upgrades. A lot of things just didn't apply anymore from when the agreement was first put in place. So that agreement is still in the process of being sort of tweaked and worked on, and we're wondering whether the West Grey Council and Brockton on Monday would consider our recommendation from the board to increase the size of the board.
Thoughts and/or comments? Councillor Lawrence, go ahead.
I spoke to Laura, CAO, with regard to that agreement, and made her aware that it should be completed before the end of this term. And there were, because it has to go to both councils.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
And I know I've been speaking with Carrie and working through some of the review in there, and that is where it would have to happen, I believe, in the procedure of that changing the bylaw. I guess I'm looking for any nods, winks, that it's a good idea. Probably the best place for it to be would be to take it to, we have a committee of the whole on Monday morning, so it might be better to have a bit of a report from Carrie, verbal update on her enthusiastic volunteering to look at that report and find out exactly where she is on it. I know she certainly has been working on it as well as other things, but
Yeah, and that's
have
fine.
that
We're just bringing the recommendation, and
Yeah.
feel free to spin it around and see what the.
bat it around. Doug?
I just have an observation and a question. The one meeting that I went to, Dale, I believe the gentleman from Brockton was their Parks and Recreation person.
Yes.
So my thoughts would be, maybe instead of having two counselors, you could have a counselor and a staff member. So, for example, our Parks and Recreation person could maybe be part of that committee.
And actually, Stephanie's been at several meetings, and
She's been
we've
participating.
enjoyed her her participation. We weren't sure whether that would be a conflict to have staff as voting members, so.
Is it conflict?
Yeah. It's a
Because we
little-
also
yeah.
have our.
No.
No? Seriously?
Yeah, we went through that, and I don't think staff's there, but it being on the board itself and the governance structure of it,
Right.
it just doesn't work, and there's some conflicts with the Municipal Act, if I believe I'm correct in looking at that. Yes,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the advisory.
Yeah.
I think what Dale is speaking of and what has been recognized more is this is a working board. Looks after fixing the picnic tables, putting some fencing up around the ball diamond.
Yeah.
They really, it is a hands-on board, doing some of the, I had blisters from, that's years ago before you were on the board, raking the new playground equipment and putting the pea stone in, and it is truly, and maybe a few extra hands, but we could look at it as an extra counselor, or look at it as a community appointee. Might be as good of option as well.
Just a question to go along with that. So I know your Chamber of Commerce is very active in your community, a different mode than ours in this areas. Are there members from the Chamber on the board?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So I just thought that was a good connection. Wasn't sure if they were or not. Yeah.
There are, and it's very, very closely associated, and there's, like, for example, there's a very vibrant seniors group too, so maybe there's a representative from the Elmwood Seniors or a fireman. It really, whether it comes from the chamber or whether it comes from somebody in a different organization, I think it also sort of broadens the scope of conversations, because with a small group of people, it's you don't get the wide diversity of ideas. Or here's something that maybe no one has ever thought about before.
Yeah.
So by all means, think it over. We'll happily await your your thoughts.
It did kind of burst my bubble because that's exactly what I did have it for coming up on committee of the whole on Monday to have that discussion. So I know that Carrie's been working on it, but good lead in. And yeah, we'll look at it at that point.
And the
in time.
salaries would almost have to be doubled or tripled, I'm sure, for the board, just something to consider.
Quadruple.
I know.
Just shoot for the moon. You may hit a star, Dale.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyhow, that's all I have. Once again, thank you for your time, and I wish everyone all the best in the next term and those completing your term. Congratulations, and we appreciate all the hard work and your patience in dealing with people like me.
No, well, thank you very much for the report and the update and where we're at. And just so everybody knows, as Dale has said, yes, he's moved into Grey County, but it's not into West Grey, but he's still going to be a member of the chamber, so he can still be a member on the board, and he's still going to be very active in his hometown of Elmwood. Yeah, and he's not looking anywhere near retirement yet. So thank you very much for all your efforts there, Dale. Appreciate it. Carol?
Just want to say Dale deserves a vote of thanks for all the work he's done on this project.
Yes.
I know it's been ongoing, a lot of hard work by himself and Ernie.
Oh. Very good. Thanks, Dale. Okay. That's it for delegations. So we have a couple of things that will come on to Committee of the Whole on Monday for some updates out of that and something to think about over the weekend. That brings us down to staff reports. And as you'll notice, Carrie and Mark at the brunt of everything here. Our CAO, Laura, was in Ottawa with us and has taken a couple of days holidays to still, she has family in the Ottawa area and has taken a couple of days holidays to stay with family down there. And Mr. Glazier is off this evening as well, too. Won't be with us. So, as I said, that brings us down to the Director of Finance, Treasurer, and first part of your report, Carrie, is the accounts. And I just wondered if there's any questions, comments? Mr. Hutchison. Doug?
Yeah, just a couple questions. Street lighting repairs in Newstead, page 32, or page 4 in your report, Carrie. Just wondered, did that have to do with the moving of the pole? What was the cost on that one? Was $787. And just says street light repairs, so I wasn't sure, or did we have some problems with our street lights that we had a cost? I know they were working on that pole to move it, but I don't know if that's...
It's not that pole?
No, it's not, that's not the one. Yeah.
Can you find it there, Carrie?
Do you know what that one was? That door glass and insulation ball diamonds, that was a big cost, a couple $1,000 or something for some door glass and insulation.
Turn your mic there, Carrie.
It says to repair 2 lights in Newstead. So there must have been 2 of them that, I don't think it was related to the arena hall
No.
No.
light.
Okay.
I think it was just repairing 2 other. Ended up with an inline fuse kit and a photo eye that had to be swapped out.
So that would be our LED lights, probably.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Poles,
the
yeah.
Newstead, yeah.
Okay. I just wondered what that was.
And I don't know whether that had anything to do with the poles that were being swapped in or out. I know that we were coordinated doing a little bit of work when they were doing the poles, when Westeria was there. But I think it was just maintenance more. That pole itself is up for discussion.
Yeah, that's
More
another-
into Brent's report coming forward.
Right. There was another item on page 35, which would be on page 7 of your report, Carrie. The door glass and insulation, now for T1 WG, I'm not sure what that is, but it's under the Durham Summer Program or Durham Ball Diamond Expense. Door glass and insulation. I wasn't sure what that was. $1,240.
Yeah, so Randy was using the tractor and ended up breaking a portion of the glass in the door, so his department was repairing it on the tractor.
So what door in the arena? That was
No, the tractor.
Tractor.
Oh, the tractor door.
Used
Oh,
for grass
okay.
cutting and whatnot.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's got a
okay.
cap.
All right, I get it now.
Cab door. Yeah,
Okay, right.
I did clarify it.
Zero turn, that's fixed that problem.
He wasn't cutting the grass when the ball game was going on and a ball went through it, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had one other little question here. Just a statement. On page 37, or page 8, there's one charge and there's another charge. Had to do with, it's $124 for plastic cups for something that went on in Newstead, and also the Newstead Ball Diamond Family Ball Tournament. They paid $124 plastic cups. So I think somewhere along the line, we need to have that discussion again, whether we should maybe be looking at selling cans of beer. I know there's more cost involved, but environmentally, we don't have the plastic. And maybe manpower-wise, you'd save a little bit that way. So I just think that maybe that's something that we should look at in the future, whoever's on council, that maybe we want to move towards selling beer in cans rather than bottles and plastic cups.
Okay. Look at that going forward. Okay. Any other questions on the accounts, Rebecca?
I just have one, Davis Hill Nursery Succulents and Begonias. Do we have all of that other accounting settled up? Have we, I was just curious, the matters that came forward from last time, if we've got all those rectified and this is a new charge and everybody's signed off as appropriate and so on.
Yeah, this is a new charge. The other, all the product has been picked up and received. Those accounts will be showing up on the next group for approval again. But that is a different, those were additional plants that were outside of that original order.
Okay. Nothing else. I do have a motion moved by Doug Hutchison, seconded by Rob Thompson. Be resolved that the Director of Finance Treasurer be authorized to pay the accounts presented as voucher number 16, 2018, in the amount of $699,700.35 of the Municipality of West Grey. Any questions on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. There, Mark. Okay. And the next one, Carrie. If I can get to it here. Whoa, yeah, sorry, was that one with the health unit, was the bylaw. Is there any questions or comments on that, Rebecca? No, on the bylaw. Yeah.
So this is an agreement, the naloxone kits and public health. This is an agreement that Fire Chief Phil brought forward to us back in March for our own West Grey service. And at that time, we felt that there was too much, again, training, value, who was paying for these kits, the duration of the life of the kit, how long would these even suit for. This agreement looks like public health is entirely on board for paying for them, and there's only a 15-day termination time period. So that program could end at any moment. But in speaking with Fire Chief Phil, there was no need to go on and add additional requirements to the training for our local fire department. So I would not be supporting this. We didn't support it for West Grey Fire Service locally, so I wouldn't be looking forward to, there's been no new information come forward. This is the same agreement, so I don't feel that this is necessary at this time. But
Okay. Any comments, Carrie?
Yeah,
from
the Elmwood
board?
Fire Board is recommending that it be approved. They would like to have, the fire chief there would like to have the provision of these kits so that if a firefighter is accidentally exposed to the methamphetamines and whatever the
Fentanyl.
drugs, fentanyl, that's what it is, that then they can administer it immediately to help save the life of the firefighter. It's not intended to be a response to a victim at a scene. It's for accidental exposure of a firefighter. And Brockton has approved the use of the agreement with the health unit for this for the Elmwood Fire Department. But this would be strictly for the Elmwood Department, and they're asking for your approval.
Okay. Anything else? Doug?
Well, I don't really see a problem with it. It's for their own protection. It's not like they're not administering this to people on the street or whatever if they come upon a scene. So I think for their own protection, I think it's a worthwhile thing to be able to do that and to have the access to the kits, because as we know, it's becoming more and more common. So I think it's a good idea.
Rebecca, once
To
more.
that end, then we should standardize, and West Gray should be on board then as well. If we're supportive of this program and the benefits of the agreement, then we should do for West Gray the same as Elmwood is recommending to us. So if that would be the case, I'd like us to revisit the West Gray agreement with public health. So if we would do that, then I could support it. Let's
Okay.
standardize the program.
Hopefully we look at that, make a request, back to our fire chief and come forward with a report on, is there new or more information since we made the decision, back in March, for our own fire departments. Okay? All right. There's nothing else. Thank you, Carrie. Then I think we're down to Brent's report, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. You going to stay around and help us through Brent's report, Carrie? Yeah, there's a few costs. Some of it might be, the first one is on the Newstead Community Center, the hydro upgrades, and where we're going with that one. I think Councillor Hutchison had mentioned in that last, Westario was doing some pole upgrades in Newstead. And when the Newstead Community Center Hall was built and added on to the arena, the pole with the transformer is basically beside the door. It was said to leave it at that point in time. And we know that it's been quite a while since the arena went up. Westario was saying that at that point there was a debate. Carol, you were here on, do we leave the pole there? And it was much added cost at that point. Right now, Westario is saying they cannot, certainly won't guarantee if that transformer was to blow, it's just redundant. They would not put, or don't have parts to put that back in and fix it. And there needed to be some upgrades in the arena itself, if and when we changed it. So they've come up with, and Brent has come up with a proposal on how to move that at a minimal amount of cost to install the new pole. And I think that's about what's on there. Is there any other questions? Carrie would be more than pleased to answer the engineering process of that. John?
No, we
Deputy
had
Mayor
extensive conversation about this before, and I think this needs to be done, especially now in this type of weather, and not some January evening when there's a full house in the Newstead Arena at supper some night. So I'm in favor of moving this forward, taking it from the general capital reserve. We don't like doing those things very often, but I think this warrants that, and I would fully support this recommendation.
Okay.
Very five.
There's nothing else. I do have a motion, it's moved by R. Herget, seconded by Carol Lawrence. Resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby approves the completion of the hydro service upgrades and direction drilling at the New State Community Centre in the approximate cost of $30,000 to $35,000 as contained in the Director of Infrastructure and Public Works Report, BW 1814, Part 1, with funding being secured from the General Capital Reserve. And I think as Deputy Mayor Bell said, at that time, there was a bit of life left in that transformer and pole. We've exceeded, it was about 2 to 3 years. I think that's almost 10 years ago now. So we've more than exceeded the extended life in that, and getting, as you said, in February or sometime that an emergency came up, it not only would shut down the community center hall, but the arena itself because of the effects it would have on that facility. And we know that the facility throughout the winter, or throughout any time, figure skating, roller skating, pickleball, the use of the arena itself and the hall is used on a very frequent basis as well too. So protection of the service and the availability of the hall is paramount here. And doing it at a time when Westario is going to foot the cost of the new pole and everything else that goes with it. So, okay. Any other questions on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. There you are, Mark. All right. Moving down, then the next one is on the parking bylaw. Mark, you prepared that from Committee of the Whole.
I will just note that under the bylaw section, I did indicate that it was amending bylaw number 23 of 2018, whereas in fact it's repealing the bylaw. I had initially thought of just amending it because I had a concern that I know the West Grey Police Force were looking to purchase new police parking tickets because they're in short supply. So I was concerned if they had already done that, that also by passing a new bylaw, it might be, again, incur that cost once more, but the parking tickets have not been, the new ones haven't been ordered, so if we can get this approved, then they can get some new tickets and won't have to incur a second cost. I have vetted this through the Ministry of Attorney General's office, and the main individual contact person there has indicated she is supportive of sending the bylaws it's shown to the Court of Justice for set fines approval if council passes it.
Good, thank you. Any questions? Go ahead, Rebecca.
We have had significant discussion on this as well, and a few delegations from Committee of the Whole. This does seem to be a much better plan, well thought out, and consultation and so on. So thank you so much for vetting that through all the appropriate channels as well, Mark. It's good.
Go ahead, Mark.
One thing I did neglect to say, there was some direction about creating a 30-meter buffer, no parking from the set intersections. While preparing the bylaw, I did note that there's already a section prohibiting parking within 15 meters of intersections. So I did speak to Mr. Glazier on that, and he is satisfied with the 15-meter setback. So there will be some no parking signs posted 15 meters from those intersections.
And that's basically around College and Chester. Yeah. In and around the hospital. Okay. Any other comments from the bylaw? Go ahead.
Just
John?
real quick, yeah, I had 2 emails followed up from 2 individuals that were happy with the decision that we've come to, so just throw that out there.
Yep, good.
And sorry, I should add again that yes, the Public Works Department did hand deliver notices of the proposed changes, and as Deputy Mayor Bell indicated, it seems to have been well received.
Accepted by the residents that live around there. Okay. All right. Well, we'll look forward to that bylaw coming forward. And The third one that Brent has here is the sale of surplus equipment. And I think this one's just for information. Gary, what was budgeted, and we came close. We were within in 10% there. So that was just for information. Unless there's any questions on that. Mark, I'll ask you. I think we have 3 bylaws on the docket this evening. So we'll hand those motions out to get the proceedings go. So we have 92, 93. Thank you, Carrie. Okay, we have 3 bylaws on the docket this evening. And we'll start with bylaw number 92, is the one dealing with traffic and parking. So it's moved by Doug Hutchison, seconded by Rob Thompson. Be it resolved that bylaw number 92, 2018, being a bylaw to provide for the regulation and control of traffic, be now read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. Any questions or comments further on this motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Mark. 93 is the one that we spoke about with the Elmwood Fire Department and then the NAX loan agreement with the Grabiers Health Unit. It's moved by R. Hergert, seconded by Carol Lawrence. Be it resolved that bylaw number 93, 2018, being a bylaw to enter into a general service agreement between the Municipality of West Grey, Elmwood Fire Department, and the Grabiers Health Unit be now read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, be engrossed in the bylaw book. Any questions or comments on this motion? Councillor Hergen.
Could we table this until we get the concert of West Grey Fire Services at the same time? Like committee of the whole, we could have a further discussion about making sure that we're standardized between West Grey and Elmwood for fire services. Or could we ask Fire Chief Phil to bring forward the report from March again?
I would think that it would be probably easier to look at revisiting West Grey, because the Elmwood Fire Department is a joint, separate entity. So
we'll ask Fire Chief Phil then to bring back a report at Committee of the Whole then about West Grey.
Right,
Perfect.
yeah. Okay. And probably can do that on Monday. It might even be a verbal update, but see if it's possible, but we'll see whether he's available. Yep, and if not, it'll be the next one. It'll be within that time. Okay? Okay, any other questions on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. All right. Keep going. Bylaw number 94 is the confirming bylaw. It's moved by Rob Thompson, seconded by John A. Bell. Be it resolved that bylaw number 94, 2018, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the August 23rd, 2018 council meeting, be now read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered, and that said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. Any questions on this motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay. There we are. New business. Anything under new business? Rebecca, Councillor Hergert.
So as I brought up before, I would like this information taken up to Grey County for the long-term care, but I was also hoping that on our committee of the whole reports in the future, we could have just a place on the agenda with either a monthly county or a CAO update on the status of long-term care in West Grey and Grey County. And I think we could make that just an easy addition on our committee of the whole reporting that we do.
Yeah, I don't see a problem with that. We can, at the committee of the whole, we're pretty much there now. John and I have given counsel, but if you want it more formalized, we can talk to Mark about how incorporating that in as other committees or, yeah, either the long-term. Yeah, okay. Mr. Bell.
Yeah, going along with that, I think you have to realize that neither the mayor or I do sit on the long-term care committee, so all the information that is discussed would be in the minutes of Grey County meetings. So, okay.
So I guess further, I would like our council to direct our staff, our CAO, to liaise with the county at every possible intersection for future funding opportunities to keep locally aware of what's changing at the provincial level or Grey County level. And I think that would just be very easy on a committee of the whole report to, you know, just an update if there is one, as it relates to West Grey. But you're right, minutes of meetings can be found, that's right.
Yeah. We'll take a look at it. I'll engage Mark here and try and figure out a little, you know, whether it's just a better dissemination of the information that is moving there. But I guess if I seem slightly hesitant, it's how does the lower tier move into a county responsibility and where that, yeah, how we're crowding it. It's more for information than anything else. Rebecca?
That's right, and just as the county progresses on the development or redevelopment or however it goes, and as the province changes and updates funding and so on, you know, the councillors that are in that position and mayor and deputy mayor, we'd look forward to a report back. That'd be great.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Okay. Any addendums? Notice of motion? There's no closed session. I know we're slightly ahead on the agenda as far as time-wise goes, so maybe we'll just skip over. No. Question period. Any questions at this point in time on anything that was on the agenda this evening? Start with the gentleman in the blue shirt, white shorts, white socks. Do you want to just use that mic there so Adam can pick you up, or if, yeah, and if anybody else wants to go, so yeah. We'll go there for you, Steve. Go ahead.
Yeah, I know it's pushing the envelope a little bit because Can Assist was not on the agenda, but you did raise the issue of cannabis. So I'm just wondering, can you give an update on what's happening to that Can Assist agreement?
I guess, yeah, we can give you a slight update, and interesting enough, Can Assist did or was on one of the breakout sessions. I wasn't able to go because I was meeting with the minister about the time that in another side of the Weston and the Shaw Centre, and it gets a little difficult to move around in Ottawa between parts for that conference. But I know Councillor Hergert attended, and I don't know whether Doug or John, you attended that one. But Can Assist was on there making presentation on how they're moving along. They are moving. They do have a project going with another municipality in Northern Ontario. We here in the municipality are continuing to work with them, quite frankly, in the preliminary stages of going through, trying to identify whether it be getting our, and now it just escapes me, the Economic Development Corporation status. And I know one of the municipality, another one in Ontario that they're working with, and that's how they want to have the agreement come through, is to have an economic development corp, which very large centers are already there, and how quickly we can move to go through onto that would be one of the first steps in engaging and signing. We've signed a, kind of a memorandum of understanding that we would continue to work, and I guess that's the biggest thing we could say. We're continuing to work with them on what we need to do as far as West Grey goes to enter into further negotiations down the road with them on finding property. We're just working on what they need to be able to establish their business here within the municipality. Okay? Yep. Thanks, Steve. Any other questions? Go. Just about ready to bring the hammer down, Bob, but okay, you get the last bid.
I couldn't say, don't look at me, I had my stay here this afternoon, so.
Oh, all right. Your questions are already answered by staff. Thank you very much.
Pretty well.
Okay.
We're working on a project.
All right. Now you've got me interested, but I'm not going to ask you a question. Okay. Thanks very much, Bob. Very good. If there's no other questions on this evening, Municipal Act notices marked. There are none. So with that, I would look for a motion to adjourn. Councillor Lawrence? Yeah. Moved by Councillor Lawrence, seconded by Councillor Hutchison. No, we've got to... Yeah, we've changed it. You see, it's gone down to number 20 now, or 21, and we only have 20, so I'll accept that. All in favor, we stand adjourned. Very good. Thank you. Aye.